What's up, everybody?
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another day of daily gaming news.
We have made it to July 9th, and we've got more juicy news to dive into. And starting us off is one that we ended with yesterday is how an ex-Bungie executive spilling some beans on the Activision deal and says it turned out as bad as we thought.
What a terrible quote. So
It
in
is.
January last year, the gaming world was rocked with the news that the Activision-Bungie partnership was ending and that Bungie would be self-publishing Destiny 2 and future games. While Bungie said Activision were great partners, it seems that the behind-the-scenes picture doesn't paint a similar, look over the whole situation.
Yeah, and that's not surprising with everything we know about Activision. So former Bungie executive and franchise composer Martin O'Donnell, or more widely known as Marty O'Donnell, has now spoken up about it and in detail too. In appearing in an almost 2-hour-long Hidden Xperia podcast, O'Donnell spilled the beans on the Bungie Activision deal, and he dropped some bombs.
He said, quote, "Part of me was, well, it's about time. The other part of me was, gee, I hope they get bought so then I'll get bought out on my stock," which, by the way, didn't happen. So he says, "I'm still holding a nice chunk of Bungie stock waiting for them either to get bought or to go public or bankrupt. If they go bankrupt, then that's the end of my Bungie stock, so I have a wide range of possibilities there."
And then he goes on to say, yeah, because I was in leadership and I was on the board of directors when we went with Activision, if there is blame for going to Activision, I'm part of it. There were 7 of us total that made the deal with Activision, and we knew it was a risk right from the get-go. And then it turned out to be exactly as bad as we thought it was going to be. I'm the only one who's going to say that, except anybody who works for Bungie are going to say it was bad from the start.
If you still work for Bungie, you're going to be political and you're going to say all sorts of things about, oh, we had a good partnership and blah, blah, blah. We were able to build a wonderful thing. And, at the time came for us to go our separate ways because we each had different goals, but we were happy and we love each other. And yeah, continues the quote. They say, that's BS. There's so many scripted answers out there that I hear. And I'm just like, yeah, that's just not right. This just didn't happen.
Oof. And he continues, Marty O'Donnell continues saying, I'll remember this to this day. The reason why we went with Activision was not just the money, but it was because a part of the contract was that they didn't own the IP. Now, remember, Microsoft owns the Halo IP, and we wanted to make sure whoever we were going to work with next would not own the IP. We would own the IP, and that was a non-negotiable aspect for me personally.
It continues, I just kept saying we should be able to own and control the IP, and Activision agreed to that. And all the other big players during that period would not agree to do that, including Microsoft, who's very close to, being very serious. We almost went back to Microsoft, if you can believe it.
Okay, let's just take a moment and absorb this information, because something that he says in this thing is so true. The political aspect of responding to conflict. Mm-hmm. If you're not working for Bungie, you're pretty comfortable saying the truth about what went down.
This is, I guess, kind of refreshing to hear, honestly, because, at the receiving end of, all of the PR from these companies, we're just so used to seeing, very glossed over statements of, everything's great. It was a great partnership. It was so much fun. Glad we worked on this together. Whereas behind the scenes, it seems like it was not going well. It seems like there were a lot of disagreements. This was, a huge pain point. This was a point of tension for both parties, it seems. I'm glad that Bungie was really sticking to its guns about owning the IP. It seems that they really regret, handing over Halo to Microsoft.
Yeah.
And I'm glad they really stuck with it with Destiny, whether or not, it actually resulted in a better game.
It's a great point, and that's something we've chatted about a lot, is the whole what would have happened for Halo had Bungie been able to maintain the intellectual property. Where would that game be now? It would probably be what Destiny is. But yeah, this is also something that I think all of us who've been kind of paying attention to Activision and everything that's taken place with Activision, mm-hmm. especially not too long ago with the Activision Blizzard drama.
Yes.
There's something to be said about that culture that just it doesn't really, doesn't help. It helps financially because of all the money that they make, but overall they have like really poor morale.
Yeah, it seems like there's poor morale. I think the company culture is very idealistic, but it doesn't seem like it actually, permeates into the actual culture of the people. It just seems like a PR statement. And it's unfortunate to see because as we were talking about yesterday, part of why so many people get into gaming, even if you're maybe not on the game development side, if you're still working in gaming, it's most likely because you want to be there. This is a specific industry that you want to be in for a very specific and particular reason. It's not just another job for most people. So it's unfortunate to see that still inevitably happen in some cases.
And this is always that, we've talked about this before, but I think it still fits with the conversation of, since Bungie's left Activision, it's still been very rocky for Destiny 2, and the game itself has suffered like a moment of strength early on, but even now a lot of like downfalls in the player base dropping. Their Fortnite-like event that took place that was basically like watching paint dry. They've just had some. Hey, thank you so much, Kane.
Thank you.
Thank you. That the whole choice here to leave under the Activision umbrella could have hurt them, business wise. But I wonder if they're all thankful for it, even with the political responses that they would give while still working for Bungie.
I assume they are, and I kind of wonder why it doesn't really translate into the gameplay since they're no longer with Activision. Why the Fortnite-like event was so lacking in content, really, and so lackluster. And it seems like Destiny really hasn't, done enough for its player base. I feel like the content from what I've heard is just, the same thing over and over again. There's no real new content. There's no real change in the meta. There's nothing particularly exciting going on in this game. And I wonder if maybe the whole split, also split maybe Bungie's resources or, stirred the pot in a way that was hard to recover from a development standpoint or not.
Yeah, because then that's another question. Hey, what's up, Beats? Welcome. And hi, Rixie.
What's up?
The question I then would always have now is, as someone who played a lot of Destiny 2, I put in like 4 to 5 years of that journey, is there hope for Bungie to ever bounce back? Or has did their star rise with Halo and ultimately it's just fallen too far because they just can't seem to capture lightning in the bottle again?
We've kind of talked about this before of, do we just remember Bungie as this forever beacon of light in gaming, or did they have a one-hit wonder? I think they had enough Halo games for me to prove that, they are a great, studio, they're great developers. I don't think Halo is a one-hit wonder. Maybe I'm just, holding on to the past, but I have faith that, Bungie can come out with, a phenomenal game sometime in the future. And I think that we heard a rumor they're working on something different from Destiny. We don't quite know what it is, but they are working on a new project. So I hope that game is a knock out of the park. And if it isn't, then maybe Bungie isn't the trophy that we see it as.
Yeah, and Buckle suggests something that is very possible. Is what if in the pipeline of how long they worked with Activision, we're still seeing stuff that they had worked on with Activision, and they've yet to be able to start to do what they want to do with Destiny 2, because we know how that stuff works when you're developing. Right. You still got to release it. You have those cycles. So that very well could be the case, and I'm right there with you. I want to hold on to hope that Bungie will turn around and deliver a good game with their next, venture, whatever that may be.
That is true, and we were talking about game delays as well with the pandemic, and while a lot of games have been delayed, slightly this year, it really means big delays for games next year because, whole parts of production have had to be stopped, especially with motion capture. You can't get actors into a studio. There are certain things that you really kind of have to do in person. So we kind of see the delayed effects of that. And you're right, maybe Bungie is still, releasing content that was created under Activision because the pipeline for, coming out with new things in games is so long.
Yeah, we'll just have to. I'm also now one of those people that would say, is someone else going to speak out? We have to wait
Right.
and see on this. But is someone else that was like a former Bungie exec going to be comfortable coming out and saying, "Yeah, let me add to a little bit more to Marty O'Donnell's point there and talk about this?" Because it's I'm very curious. I've just I play a lot of Call of Duty, so I play I play an Activision title all the time. But I do have my personal opinions towards that company. So I'm really curious, what more could we learn about this?
Me too. I'm curious if we're going to see more coming out from Ex-Bungie executives, maybe about, that whole partnership and that whole process. But for now, that is all the information we have.
That is it. Thank you so much there, Pittsburgh Penguins, for the host. And our next topic is one that is fun because some of the people who made this game come from a series of a game that I was a big fan of, Gears of War. So I'm excited to see what they're going to do because I was a huge fan of the gameplay of Gears of War. But this is Outriders, and there has been an overview of some gameplay recently.
So Outriders is a 1 to 3 player co-op RPG shooter set in an original, dark, and desperate sci-fi universe. As mankind bleeds out in the trenches of Enoch, you'll create your own Outrider and embark on a journey across the hostile planet.
With rich storytelling spanning a diverse world, you'll leave behind the slums and shanty towns of the first city and traverse forests, mountains, and deserts in the pursuit of a mysterious signal. Combining intense gunplay with violent powers and an arsenal of increasingly twisted weaponry and gear sets, Outriders offers countless hours of gameplay from one of the finest developers of shooters in the industry, People Can Fly.
In the latest video for the upcoming RPG shooter, take a look at the campaign, side quests, companions, and travel system, in addition to the reveal of new environments and enemy types. Let's take a look at that gameplay trailer.
Let's remember, Outriders is not yet available, but there is a planned release of Holiday 2020. Take a look.
Both in terms of game length and the numbers of hours you'll be able to pour into it, and
Okay,
the
I'm already getting a
distance
Destiny
you'll
feel.
traverse over the course of the story.
Some
So
of
today
these
we're
visuals.
excited to show you more of the journey and structure of Outriders. How you move about the game and how the various features, systems and story all come together. In last month's broadcast, we explored the first city, the area of Enoch first settled by the refugees of Earth. Everything from this section of the game unfolded here, in this area of the map. The first city sits within a larger area of colonized Enoch,
Look at that
which
map.
you can see here.
Wow.
Here, humans have made a life,
It feels
as
almost
best as they
District
can,
90,
and built
that
cities,
Alien
Oh, yeah.
strongholds, factories,
game, or the
and
movie.
mines as they try to survive. This is where
Yeah,
the
that's
Outriders
one of my
first
wife's
real
favorite
location
films.
Oh,
starts.
really?
So that's a great
The
reference.
first
Yeah.
hours in the game are spent. Humanity has always struggled to leave this place. With the raging anomaly storms and monsters preventing further colonization of the planet,
Okay.
pushing society back to the Dark Ages. As you will see though,
That's a
there's a
big
whole
map.
lot more to Enoch. As an Outrider, you're one of the few powerful enough to leave humanity's broken settlements and journey out across this hostile planet. But what does that mean in actuality? Outriders takes advantage of a hub-and-spoke structure, connecting busy, settled areas, the hubs, with combat arenas and free roam areas, the spokes. The main story
Okay.
missions push you through the game, and a large number of side quests and additional content can be discovered on or off the beaten path. As side quests scale
It
to
does
your
look
level,
pretty
so
Destiny-like.
do the rewards.
Yeah.
It means even early side quests
Definitely
can
has
be
that feel.
meaningful played late in the game. And it's worth saying side quests aren't fluffy objectives that take place in the same
Hey, thank you so
spaces
much, Kai.
you've experienced in the main game. They're new, bespoke areas of Enoch that you could miss entirely, and they often reveal more secrets about the world and lore. Let's travel quickly to
Interesting.
Eagle Peaks, the snow-capped mountains that encase the war zone, to take on a side quest there.
Is this your whole company?
Yeah, same. I would play
There
this game.
used to be
I was
more of us.
definitely getting that Gears vibe
Something
too.
happens to the men up in these hills. We hear voices. Some leave and don't come back. Same for anyone who goes looking for them. But
Oh, I like her
maybe
cape.
an altered could have more luck in finding them. Could you lend a hand?
All right, let's play detective. If I was
Did you
a
have to
missing
build some
soldier
of that? Is that
wandering
what
off
that was
into
a
the
hint
night
of?
hearing voices,
Great
where would I
question.
go?
Come on, don't do this!
What's that guy do?
I just came looking for my friend!
He belongs here now! We all do! Today, the storm welcomes an apostate into its loving embrace!
So it seems
Crazy
the last remaining
religious
survivor of
zealot
our
faction?
initial soldiers
Yeah.
was just sacrificed to the
Always
anomaly?
nice.
Sacrifice?
We need to have some words with this deadly cult and its leader.
ECA!
Oh, nice. Yeah, definitely Gears gameplay right here.
They've got nowhere to run!
I'm all for this right now. Oh! Nice.
Nice. There was a little bit of standing and shooting for a
We're
while.
only
there.
giving you a
Yes.
small taste of this little side adventure. It takes a fair bit longer to make our way into the inner chambers here. And as always, we like to keep some surprises for you. But it's time now for an epic showdown with the altered cultist leader.
I like this
Nice.
environment. I feel like I say that
Yeah.
about every game.
I would say it's like it could have been basic, but they found a way to like clearly add light to the snow.
Yeah, I kind of like how there's like a cult leader in this too. To differentiate itself from just like another, you know, like futuristic
Yeah.
type game.
And it's not a monster, it's a person,
A cult brewing up here.
clearly with
I
powers.
don't know, this place seems to make people flip their fucking lids.
Yeah, nice. By completing the side
Zebra
quest,
Space
we can now
Camel.
choose a sweet piece of new gear as a reward. With that sorted, let's talk a little bit more about
Nice.
hubs. In hubs,
The
your
choice
weapons are
there is
holstered
great.
for a time, and you can
This
soak in
kind
a
of
bit
feels
of
almost
life
Star
on Enoch.
Warsy with the
Here you can visit vendors
all the
to sell
hanging
scrap and
fabric,
purchase
and it
gear,
seems more
frequent
like
bars to gather
village-like.
gossip and bounties,
Call it the liver spinner.
and pick up side quests from one of Enoch's
Liver
many
spinner.
eccentric denizens.
Liver spinner.
What exactly is your business?
Certain mercenary services?
It's hard to show this without
I
spoilers,
believe
but as you
Buckle,
progress
their
through the
former
game, the world
epic
state and NPC dialogue is affected by
in
pivotal
Gears.
moments from the story, and new side quests unlock, some of which are hidden in earlier hubs and play spaces,
Is it better if the
further
microphone's
rewarding
closer here?
exploration. Combat feats also come with achievements. Complete a collector's quest like a bounty or monster hunt, and
I don't know
NPCs
if
will
that's
recognize
too loud.
and reward your triumphs. In
Like
bringing to
that.
life a new sci-fi universe, we are adamant that these settled areas feel dynamic and alive. Oh, and if monster hunts piqued your interest, stay tuned for a future broadcast to learn more about them.
Well, this should be interesting.
Monster
Crucially,
hunts.
hubs also allow you to check in on your Outriders truck and crew, which will grow as you progress throughout the game. We're going to talk more about the Outriders truck in the future, but its primary function is to transport you through the world,
Can you
bringing
drive
many
it?
of the features of a town with it.
Right?
All the functionality you'd expect from a hub hits the road.
It'll just be a loading screen.
I
Let me
hope
try it.
not.
Crafting your crew. The truck is a moving RPG village. Now you don't operate the truck yourself. That job falls to your driver, Jakub, who we will talk more about later. But the customization options are vast, so you can personalize your ride along your journey.
Okay, that's
Let's
cool.
pack up and hit the road now. I need to head to the forest to continue my journey. Let's take a quick moment to introduce the crew. Your ride or dies accompany you on your quest to discover the source of the signal. Here we can see Jakub, who drives the truck and can handle any customization of the vehicle. Jakub was with your Outrider during the first arrival on Enoch 30 years prior. A bright-eyed youth with an exciting life ahead of him. on
Yeah,
a
I
new
wonder
planet.
how much you can
Time is
actually
nothing kind
customize it as
before
well.
Jakub. Here's Sahidi, who we met in the last broadcast. One of the few people on Enoch with a grasp on science and how to get mankind out of the pickle they happen to find themselves in. You can
The
talk
game
to
comes out
Sahidi for
holiday
weapon mods and
2020.
crafting.
It's not out
We'll
now.
be talking more about this topic in the next broadcast. Finally, at least for the moment, There's Bailey, who has been appointed to your team by Corrigan, the Grand Marshal of Trenchtown, who's allowed you travel through the various sectors of the settlement.
Let's go.
Bailey hates the arrangement as much as you do.
There's a listing on Steam where you could pre-order it, so I don't know
Bailey also acts as
if it's coming to consoles or if it's just
of
PC
unique
only.
weapons and armor you can trade for scrap.
Yeah.
Other notable features of a given camp? Your stash, where you can store and withdraw equipment that you might not be able to hold on your person. The stash also allows you to move gear freely between your roster of player-built characters.
Nice.
Next to the hammock here, you'll always be able to change and customize the look of your Outrider.
Oh,
Awesome.
that's cool. I
And of
like
course, the
always being
matchmaking
able to
terminal,
customize.
which is hopefully
Right.
self-explanatory. Before I'm leaving you for this
You're
month's
essentially a
broadcast,
changeling.
I'm going to take you
Yeah.
beyond the safe confines of the Forest Enclave. It's a beautiful
It feels like a little
So let's head
Monster
out there and
Hunter-y,
explore.
too.
Yes.
With these
Which
like
when he
monster
said monster
quests.
hunts, I was like,
Right.
okay, I like it.
You remember
You know, and the
my
kind of like
games we used to
bones
play?
everywhere.
Like it was yesterday.
I can still remember some of them.
Is your Outrider friend doing that on the calls?
Please stop, Yakos. Please.
Yeah.
I'm serious. Yeah.
That's a voice line in the game. That's great.
Beatboxing.
Oh, cool masks, hardcore.
And it's 1 to 3 players, so I imagine these monster hunts with friends would be really fun.
Dang!
Yeah.
That's cool. That game looks really good.
Yep. I agree. I'm into that. I'm all for that. And if that customization that they were showing is as extensive as we're hoping it to be, man, that's exciting.
I like how like fun it is. I feel like it's so hard to come out with an original game, honestly, because so many things have been done before. So many things have been done well before. But it really seems like Outriders, you know, is taking it's like forging its own path or its new path, and it kind of goes on with, maybe I just already have these schemas of like, oh, it looks like Monster Hunter, it looks like District 9, and this is
Yeah.
just kind of, you know, a combination of those, but there's no problem with that. I mean, Valorant is
At
a
all.
combination of a lot of games, I think.
Yeah.
You know, if a lot of things have been done already, then, you know, why not morph them into something new?
Exactly, yeah, and Buckle's comment there is another one of also looks like Evolve, right? Yes, Evolve was a game that a lot of people had high hopes for, failed in post more than anything, but ultimately everything that was there was strong. And to your point, just to you know echo that is like, yeah, take what works from all these other games and put it into your game, and your game will still be its own unique experience while everybody else is playing it like, oh, this reminds me of that, this reminds me of that.
I like the whole world that it's built in as well. If anyone wants to check out more details, the Steam page has, you know, it's pretty thorough on giving a good description of, you know, what you can actually do in the game, and there's more imagery that you can see on there. And I believe you can pre-order it now if you know that you're definitely going to be playing that game.
Very, very cool. I know I am looking forward to checking out when it drops. Maybe we'll go on some Monster Hunts, Kaisa, when the game is out. See how that goes.
So we have a new little segment called On This Day in Gaming History.
To honor the Throwback Thursday aspect of our internet culture, on this day in gaming history, Dota 2 was released in 2013.
Dota 2, as some of you are very familiar with, is a multiplayer online battle arena, also called a MOBA, video game developed and published by Valve. The game is a sequel to Defense of the Ancients, which was a community-created mod for Blizzard Entertainment's Warcraft 3, Reign of Chaos, and its expansion pack, The Frozen Throne.
Dota 2 is played in matches between 2 teams of 5 players, with each team occupying and defending their own separate base on the map. Each of the 10 players independently controls a powerful character known as a hero, who all have unique abilities and differing styles of play.
During a match, players collect experience points and items for their heroes to successfully defeat the opposing team's heroes in player versus player combat. A team wins by being the first to destroy the other team's ancient, a large structure located within their base.
So we have to recognize that Dota 2 is one of the most popular games in the world. What do we think it did for gaming?
I think that one of the biggest things that Dota has done is it's really impressed me as far as its community-based esports, because so for League of Legends, if you win, League of Legends internationals, if you win League of Legends finals, there's a big prize pool, which is, pretty big. But for Dota 2, it's all community funded. So I think it's actually fundraised by skins in the game, or people donate something like that to the fund. And it's actually like a monster amount. I think at one point it was maybe 13 million of a prize pool for the players who won. And it was all community organized. I think that Dota 2, which is the predecessor to League of Legends, Dota 2 actually came first. So even though I play League, Dota 2, was more OG, really. Has done a lot. Like, League is the most played game in the entire world, which a lot of people go, really? I think that's not true. It is worldwide. Right. It's, huge in China, in Korea, internationally. It's very big. I think Dota 2 has, really made its mark in gaming history. And I hope it enters that gaming hall of fame that we talked about a month or so ago. Yeah.
I was going to say, is as someone who plays a lot of League, do you have that sentiment, that ability, or do you have that mindset of like giving thanks to the success of Dota 2? Because I would ask the question, could we have League of Legends if we hadn't had Dota 2?
I don't think we could have. As chat says, Dota 2 is harder than League, people say. For example, in League of Legends, you can only last hit your enemies' minions to get gold. But in Dota 2, you can actually last hit your own minions to deny gold to the enemy team. And there's a lot more layers in, how complex the gameplay is. I think a lot of League of Legends players, they don't really like Dota and won't play Dota, but they respect that Dota, is the OG. And it's like, hey, thanks, Dota. Like, you did great for gaming, but we're going to play our own version of that over here.
Yeah, and I guess that would mean for every MOBA. If we look at Dota 2 is, is a legend in gaming. Like, it is, it paved the way for everything that we have now. I mean, look at what is the Pokemon...
Pokemon Unite.
Pokemon Unite. We have these games that are coming out, and all thanks to, on this day back in 2013, Dota 2 coming out and dropping and having the success that it did. It's really amazing to say that there's a title that kind of like holds that position permanently.
And also with the whole theme of Dota 2, being big with the community, is that, Dota originally was a community mod of Warcraft 3. Like, it was a community-created game. Like, there wasn't any, like, big fancy team behind this game. It was, just players who, wanted to create game mod and created a fun game mode that really took off and, evolved into all these other games that we have today. Yeah. So I think it's a great example of seeing what the community creates and, finding a lot of value and a lot of fun in that.
Absolutely. So be on the lookout for every Thursday, as we will be doing this Throwback Thursday to gaming history on this day in gaming. But on this day in gaming history, we give thanks to Dota 2 being released,
Thank you, Dota 2!
7-8 years ago? Wow.
Something
Amazing.
Like that. Yeah. Big moves.
So another popular game that is probably thankful for a previous title, such as CS, Riot Games is turning its guns into new Valorant skins. Turning its guns into dragons with new Valorant skins.
Valorant released a trailer for the Enderflame skins, which is their first Ultra Edition skins that will be available on July 10th.
So let's go ahead and take a look at the trailer.
Let's take a look at this trailer. And keep in mind, they're not dragon skins for your guns. It's your guns turn into dragons.
I just love this. Wow.
I love this. It's so funny.
Was the reload a handshake?
Yeah, it looks like it. You like shake your little dragon, has their little hands that move about. It's so cool.
Wow. So the Elder Flame skin set bundle of 4 skins will set you back 9,900 VP. Valorant points are sold in bundles, and to get 9,900 VP for the full Elder Flame set, you are looking at around $100.
It's a lot. It's $25 per skin, and this might be one of those that you have to buy in the whole bundle versus the individual skin, I believe. So that's $100 for this set. And in Valorant, Radianite is used to upgrade skins, which I just learned, allowing players access to new animations, effects, and other cool features. And Radianite is earned through the Valorant Battle Pass. But that means to truly get the most out of your Elder Flame skin, you not only need to purchase this set for $100, you also need to purchase the Battle Pass.
Oh, so these microtransactions really aren't a huge surprise, given that Valorant is free to play, and Riot Games will need to make their money somewhere, but $100 still stings. However, compared to the likes of CSGO, this price is somewhat mild, although CSGO players often trade lucrative skins while Valorant skins are untradeable.
I think $100 is pretty steep.
It is.
It's a cool skin, so I see why, they can justify putting that price on it, and I realize Valorant is free to play. These weapons don't give you any, these skins don't give you any advantage. It's purely cosmetic. But $100, I feel like I'm definitely going to see some people flexing their Elder Flame skins in my coming up games.
Yeah, for sure. There's that part of me that's like really torn here. I'm like, oh, it's a really cool aspect. I get it. It's a premium, right? That's the whole thing to this is this is a premium skin to have, and maybe at some point they'll have some sort of like sale go on or whatever, hopefully. But yeah, it's $100 just for the skins. I mean, you're talking double the price of a current AAA title for just the weapon skin.
I also noticed there is no scope on the dragons, which I guess makes sense because they're dragons and you just have your crosshairs. So I wonder if it's actually like kind of difficult to play with them, and they're just more flashy, and for the flex on your teammates.
It also makes me wonder if this maybe is more suited for the streamers and the influencers who play Valorant. That might be kind of the case here, is where they know it'll really get shown off or in those kind of places. And those are the types of people videos probably will be able to handle that expense. But your average consumer isn't going to be able to drop $100 on just the skins alone.
Right, I think that's true. It's for, the content creators. This is for the diehard fans, maybe, or those who feel like they need to, 100% all the skins and more are collectors of the skins in that sense. $100 is steep, and I don't expect a lot of people to purchase that skin. And if I do, I know I'm going to be hearing about it because I know they're going to want to tell everyone they know.
Yeah, and that aspect too of like CSGO allowing you to trade your skins was something that, of course, it created this underground, and you had a black market and all that stuff that just comes with that. But that's also something that I think is, fair, that if, look, hey, I paid for this and I'd like to, be able to trade it. Mm-hmm. Why don't I have that, ability to do that? Is a question I'm actually curious if Riot has ever come out and addressed why they chose not to do that, because this would make even more sense if it was tradable. Like, oh, someone might do it, maybe even start to do it as like a giveaway. Somebody who has more money and wants that to be able to be that kind of person in the community. I'm curious why they are resistant to that.
Me too, and it makes me wonder if people are going to be kind of giving, I don't know if you can gift someone Valorant points, but if you can, I could totally see something like with a lot of Fortnite streamers will do like Fortnite fashion show. If you win, you get, X amount of V-Bucks. Like I could see that also being kind of a pitch of like, hey, I'll give you Valorant points. You can buy yourself the Ender Flame set. Because when you can't trade skins or cosmetics with people, that sometimes often leads to people just selling their accounts, which breaks TOS for a lot of these games to begin with. So it's kind of one of those things where if you don't allow it, it'll still happen in some way, shape, or form. But also I realize that, trading around accounts maybe isn't Riot's, forefront, like the forefront of what they feel like they need to problem solve.
Yeah, I would speculate too at some point these prices will drop. this is the way it is right now. I think Riot may be taking a little bit more of a loss than they wanted because this is still $100. 50 might have sounded like, oh, okay, I get that. That kind of like makes sense. But 100 is like that's just that number I'm sitting with that I'm like, is there outside of the the CS:GO skins trading market? Is there another game that we know of where it's been $100 just for visuals?
That reminds us of Star Citizen. Some Star Citizen players in the chat were to buy a ship. I think you do have to pay like $150 as part of its crowdfunding. I could see this Ender Flame. I feel like I'm always going to say it wrong because there's some other like Ender something that gamers always talk about. But these Ender Flame skins, I could see them being released for maybe even like a couple days, and then maybe they'll never come back again. And that's like I could see that being like a big collector's item.
That's true
that people
too.
might jump on.
I'm just a little kind of like blown away by the comment there of some ships, as Coom says, in Star Citizen have been $3,000.
Wow.
Strong flex there. No longer is a baby flex. That's a strong flex.
That's an
there.
adult flex.
Yeah.
That's an adult level flex. Wow. I mean, a lot of gamers do have money, so I guess might as well tap into that if you can.
Yeah, Mr. Beast, I think everyone's looking to you to do some giveaways here for these skins. So please, if you ever tune in and check this out, please go ahead and start getting those giveaways.
Please do. So we have more news of another competitive game show, but this time it's not The Sims. And after we reported on The Sims Sparked show, I saw a lot of Sparked content on social media, people getting really hyped about that. So I'm thinking people are going to get hyped about this show too.
Yeah, because, guys, Tetris is getting a daily competitive game show with cash prizes.
Andrew Webster from The Verge reports the Tetris mobile app is getting a massive reboot, and at the center is a new daily competition that turns the classic puzzler into a live game show. It's called Tetris Primetime, and it's essentially a cross between an esports competition and an HQ trivia-like live experience. Every night, players can play for a chance at winning their share of a $5,000 prize pool. Elsewhere, the app is also getting new modes, including Battle Royale.
Wow. So, executive producer Ethan Levy said our goal from the beginning was to make the Forever Tetris game a game that lasts for years and years with modes for everybody.
Tetris Primetime will air 7 days a week. There will be multiple iterations each day at 7:30 p.m. local time, based in a handful of cities around the world, including Auckland, Perth, Moscow, Berlin, London, New York City, and Los Angeles. Primetime will be available in 16 countries at launch: the US, Canada, UK, Germany, Ireland, Spain, Switzerland, Belgium, Sweden, Norway, South Africa, Russia, Chile, Australia, and New Zealand, with a total of $1 million earmarked for prizes in the first year. What ties it all together is, much like HQ Trivia, a hosted video component that turns the game into a televised competition.
So, Primetime is hosted by New Zealand actor Millen Baird, and it will feature everything from previews of the night's competition to highlight reels featuring the day's best plays. When you open up the app, Baird's face will appear, telling you all about what's happening in the world of Primetime and Tetris in general. Think of it like ESPN, but for Tetris, Levy says, it isn't just a game and a competition, but also the TV channel that covers the competition.
While Primetime is the anchor for the revamped mobile app, it is also getting a number of other updates designed to keep people playing outside of the live show. There's Tetris Royale, a riff on last year's Tetris 99 on the Nintendo Switch, where 100 players compete to be the last one standing. This is joined by Tetris Together, a mode featuring private multiplayer games and real-time voice chat. The existing solo mode rounds out the offerings, and unlike Primetime, all of these modes are available globally.
So this update, the update turns the unassuming Tetris app into a surprisingly robust experience. It's also just the start. Levy says that the team has plans for the future that include rolling out Primetime to more countries, including Fortnite-style seasons with unique avatars and other cosmetics, and adding team modes to the competitive experience. And the app is available as a free download on both Android and iOS.
I'm honestly impressed that Tetris is getting to be such next level. It has its own show. When I first heard of the Tetris Battle Royale, I was like, what are you talking about, Tetris Battle Royale? But, people that have played it said it's super crazy fun. There's also Tetris Effect, which is Tetris VR. And I was reading...
That's a lot of fun.
I was reading the reviews on this, and someone was like, this game made me cry. They were like, it was so beautiful to be in Tetris Effect that it made them cry. Like, Tetris has been really creative in reinventing itself in the modern era. And while in my head I still kind of think of it as like an old game or an old school game, it's not at all.
This is another legend in gaming that we're talking about here. Everyone who's a gamer or has been alive should know about Tetris, I hope. And yes, Tetris Effect virtual reality it's just this breathtaking experience to do. They have an amazing job with all the visuals, and it's funny because Crispy was saying Tetris VR slaps. The fact that the momentum is still behind Tetris, that they now have their own TV show and competition, and they have a lot of money to win daily like that. I mean, this is huge. Like Valley was saying that. We're starting to see these games get their own shows. What else is going to start happening?
With the HQ trivia, I remember everyone was on that, and all my friends were on their phones. They're like, oh my gosh, it's almost 7 p.m. Like, I need to do my trivia thing.
Yes.
They're like, I could win like $1 million. And I'm like, really? And they're like, oh, I get so close. I'm like, I guess they've done a great job at, marketing it and giving you that feeling. I think that's why Battle Royales have captured a lot of people, because there's always that feeling of like, oh, I was so close. I was right there. Like, I could have gotten the win. And I think that this is actually going to be a really popular show. I think a lot of people are going to be participating. Tetris stresses me out so much whenever I watch streamers play Tetris 99. I'm like, my eyes can't even like follow what's happening that quickly. Like, how are you even playing this?
Tetris is just one of those games. Like when it speeds up, you're just like, no, please stop, slow down. I'm back, mom, help. And something else here to point out too is just that comment. I threw it in the chat there. The Fortnite-like events. I mean, this is just something now I think we're just gonna have to get used to this language.
Yes,
everyone's using it. Oh my goodness. So what does that mean for Tetris? What is the Fortnite-like live event or events going on in the Tetris universe?
Right? What would that mean? Like, is Travis Scott going to do like a concert? Is like the
He's
Tetris
dancing in the back while you're playing Tetris?
Right? Like dancing in the back, like live concerts in this Tetris game, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know what else it could be besides like a cool, like cinematic or like theme happening in the background while you play Tetris.
Are they going to be playing a movie while you're playing Tetris and you're like, I'm so distracted, but I can't stop looking up at the movie.
You're going to have Inception playing in the background like they did in Fortnite. Like, hey, I'm having a Fortnite-like party at my house this week. Want to come? I should start using that language.
Really? Because it's at this point, it's like, who's not saying this? Who's not saying we're going to have an event like we know of Fortnite?
I think it's cool that, this article we quoted said that think of it like ESPN, but for Tetris, which is a big statement to have ESPN, which covers a lot of different sports, on Tetris only. But I do like this parallel of, esports, being tied in with traditional sports, with The Sims Sparked. It was about Turner Sports Esports was, working on The Sims Sparked. And, having this tie-in in a lot of traditional sports, seeing that like, oh, esports, no, that wasn't a joke. Like, this is legit. There is a ton of money in it. There's a lot of interest in this. Like, we should take this seriously.
I also want to think of like the generation that kind of grew up on Tetris handheld, Game Boy. We're talking like old school Tetris that is now like, you know what? I'm going to do this. I remember playing Tetris. I wasn't that bad. I just need to, get the muscle memory back, get the brain flowing again. Those individuals that are sitting there downloading the app right now, like, I'm going to win $5,000 today. Or at some point, I'm winning this 5Gs because I was a beast at Tetris and no one ever knew it.
I'm looking forward to seeing how hard they kind of promote this. If there's going to be, maybe more traditional ads, if there's going to be like commercials on TV or, print ads even to tie in, a lot of older people who did grow up with Tetris and, who used to play a lot of Tetris to kind of bring them back into this audience. I think that would be a way to have this span all ages versus I think HQ Trivia more of skew younger, people that were always on their phones.
Yeah.
I wonder if this will also, target that same market or if it'll be a little bit broader.
That's a good point. I think it'll have strength over HQ Trivia in the fact that Trivia is, more of like a memory of like a lot of general knowledge, and Tetris is just kind of a muscle memory puzzle solving game that you can build over time. Mm-hmm. Whereas like Trivia can be like, oh, I know nothing.
You can't
about this
practice
subject.
for Trivia, really.
Yeah, I can't wait to see the how big the competitions are, and at some point, what are their live events going to be like where the competitions are going down? I'm sure that'll be really cool. But yeah, this is awesome and huge for Tetris making a jump into this public space again like this.
Big news for Tetris. I'm glad to see it. I'm glad to see that they're still going strong. This is not an old game. This is a game that is very much like in the current mainstream of the gaming meta. Really.
That's a funny comment there from Crispy. Can't wait for the Tetris trash talk. What is a trash talk moment with Tetris?
Like,
that's exactly
you're so
right.
bad at Tetris. Nice L block placement.
I'm gonna drop this square, you square. Oh, look at that, Kai! Get out of my head! Get out of my head!
You're such a square. We'll have to see it. I mean, there was a mode they said that had like voice comms, real time voice chat with your friends.
Trying to get into the opponent's head.
Right, getting into the opponent's head. If they're creating ways to like hang out with your friends in a multiplayer, are they trying to make like a Tetris metaverse, like how Fortnite has a party mode with voice chat?
Skins for your blocks. Dragon Tetris blocks.
Tetris. They're dragons now. There are so many places this game could go.
It really could. This is great. I love it so much. Can't wait to see this live taking place for the first time. But our next story is one that I think we saw coming and isn't a surprise.
We did.
As Sony has acquired minority stake in Epic for a mere $250 million.
Matt TM Kim from IGN reports Sony has acquired a minority interest in Epic with a strategic investment of $250 million. The minority stake will mean that Sony and Epic will be able to collaborate more closely together in areas of games, entertainment, and technology.
Sony president and CEO Kenichiro Yoshida said in a statement, Epic's powerful technology in areas such as graphics places them at the forefront of game engine development with the Unreal Engine and other innovations. There's no better example of this than the revolutionary entertainment experience, Fortnite.
He goes on to say that throughout our investment, we will explore opportunities for further collaboration with Epic to delight and bring value to consumers and the industry at large, not only in games, but also across the rapidly evolving digital entertainment landscape.
And Epic founder and CEO Tim Sweeney added that Sony and Epic have both built businesses at the intersection of creativity and technology. And we share a vision of real-time 3D social experiences leading to a convergence of gaming, film, and music. Together, we strive to build an even more open and accessible digital ecosystem for all consumers and content creators alike.
Sony and Epic worked together to unveil Epic's Unreal Engine 5. The tech demo that you see on your screen showcases the new engine and premiered running on the PlayStation 5. And although UE5 will be coming to all next-gen consoles like the Xbox Series X, Sweeney praised the PS5's unique technological advancements in SSD design.
I think this is something after the comments that came out with that initial interview with Sweeney and talking about this engine. I'm not surprised, and I wouldn't be surprised if that minority investment alters at some point as Epic has seen or is foreseeing the future being stronger with Sony for gaming.
I agree. I think that this was, to be expected, based on how Tim Sweeney has spoken about the PS5 as well. I think this hints at maybe we could see Sony exclusives or PS5 exclusives coming to the Epic Games Store, maybe somewhere down the line. Epic Games is, really involved with their Epic Launcher and being on PCs, and currently the PlayStation 5 is kind of its standalone, whereas Microsoft has both the Xbox, and PC games, and has the market that way. So I could see this partnership being a very long-term thing. I could see a lot of collaboration between the two companies.
Yeah, and that's really interesting too, because with the topic that we covered yesterday was the interest, or yesterday or a couple of days ago, the interest of Horizon Zero Dawn by Steam users is so strong already in a pre-order phase. Epic, I'm sure, is paying attention to that. And to your point, which I think is a very strong one, if they were to create this deal where you could access these PlayStation 5 exclusives through the Epic Games Store, you're then going to bolster the PC players to continue to use your launcher even more. And then maybe we'll actually see some cross-pollination through games that are exclusive to PlayStation 5 and PC because of this partnership that is clearly beginning very strong.
I think so too, and I thought it was interesting that they were talking about collaborating in areas of games, entertainment, and technology, which makes me think, does that mean they're working together on, the PSVR 2? Does that mean they're working together on maybe some of these shows? I mean, The Last of Us 2 has a show coming out. A lot of games, maybe not specific to Sony, but, there's a Fallout TV show. The Witcher TV show happened, and there's a lot more in development. Disco Elysium, among others, and I wonder if somehow this will translate into that. I don't know if Epic and Unreal Engine, they work with motion capture, like in regards to those shows, or if that's, outsourced to, a different area of entertainment. But it makes me think of what they're going to be doing, holistically and not just within their games.
Because there's something here that it's that same moment of like the Disney Marvel merge. The strength of that really did exacerbate the amount of Marvel content we got and created more. And I would say there is something to be said about the Marvel's Avengers, the Marvel's game that's coming out, the Avengers title, that we should recognize there is a backing behind Disney making that possible with that amount of resources and finances. The same would come in this, where you take Sony and you take Epic and they can come together and work on something collaboratively. Where does that go? It has so much space. And let's also remember that PlayStation in the past has produced its own content with its own shows. So there could just be something there, something brewing, where maybe we start to see that PlayStation Studios that is creating, the content on its own is going to turn into maybe start assisting Epic with Fortnite animated stuff, because we know that Fortnite has talked about this, or there's been a speculation that will eventually grow. There's a huge, bright future here for where this takes both Epic Games and Sony. As this is not like a little small detail. Like, this is a pretty big thing to see happening.
I like the parallel you made between, the Marvel acquisition by Disney and this as well. I had already thought of Marvel as, a monster, in the industry in a good way before it was acquired by Disney. But now just the quality of Marvel games, the quality of, Marvel films has been great and has, definitely exceeded my expectations, that I think that we could see something similar happening here in the quality of games and the quality of content being put out by these developers.
Because I remember the first time I played Fortnite was on my PlayStation. I played it back when it was specifically Save the World and it didn't have the Battle Royale aspect. And that was something for me that, I enjoyed. I really liked that experience. And it's funny, too, if you think of the history of Epic, they started out with Microsoft with Gears of War, and that's really where their focus was. And then they shifted over, and then they started to, cross-pollinate, so to speak. But it's really it's really interesting to see that maybe it was their experience with Microsoft early on that kind of shifted them from going into that, that mindset now with the present gaming environment. Is it to focus on Sony, not just because of the past, but also to focus on Sony because, like Sweeney said, that the SSD of the PlayStation 5 is really what makes it the stronger, at least more exciting to develop for piece of hardware.
I think we're at an important point in the gaming world of, certain companies coming to really the forefront. I mean, Epic Games over the past few years has really made a name for itself. Similarly, Riot Games used to just be Riot One Game, which was League of Legends, and now they have Legends of Runeterra. Wild Rift is coming out.
Game.
There's Valorant. Yeah, Riot Game, singular. And Riot Games has also put out animations and all these different things. And there's Epic Games, and the Unreal Engine has really been. The demo that I showed, how many views does it have? 13 million views for a demo? Really? Like, that's pretty unheard of. And I think that there are new companies that are, really rising to be able to compete with the already, entrenched companies in gaming. And I think that they're, going to make a splash, and they're going to, I don't want to say disrupt. I don't really like that term when it comes to, tech and startups. But I think that they are... they're well positioned, and I think they have a lot of good people working on these teams. And I think that we should keep our eyes on these collaborations and some of these companies because they are going to become, the powerhouses of the industry.
Yeah, and the also the shift, at least the shift in finances towards indie development with what Epic Games is putting out there is, now it doesn't necessarily mean you're locked to just the PC. If this relationship grows, where does that possibly jump? Where someone who's been a Sony PlayStation developer and they come to the end of their contract, but then they want to go start making games for Epic and be under that umbrella as well. There's a place here where, as some people, where you might see like what we were talking about with Bungie. You leave Activision and you just want to go on your own because you want to be treated fairly, right? You want to be treated with respect, and you want to make sure that, like, when I create something, that recognition isn't just to the shareholders, but that recognition is to the creators and to the consumers. The shareholders have their importance, but they don't even exist without those two primary, aspects and ingredients to the whole pie. So where do we see gaming go? Yeah, to your point, to your moment of saying we're at a pivotal point in gaming, what other small mergers will start to happen? What other partnerships begin to form? Maybe Microsoft needs to start thinking like that. They need to start finding, and Xbox needs to start finding these partnerships more than just focusing on the Games Pass, which seems it's really all it's got going for itself right now.
I think the Game Pass is great, but you're right, it's kind of their singular, plan moving forward, which I don't know how long that's going to carry them. I don't know how long that's going to be sustainable. Microsoft has brought on, some smaller developers, some more indie developers with their team, like Grounded. Is that the name of that game?
Yeah, through Obsidian.
Yes, and I think that is going to be very important for them, and I think they need to bring on even more, maybe not indie developers, but even smaller developers, and indie developers, maybe mid-size, just developers that aren't these giants, to really add to their portfolio and to give more credence to their name, because we think of all of these PlayStation exclusives, but exclusives that are to Microsoft, they're not really branded in my mind. It's like, oh, this is a Microsoft game. I don't really think about that when I think about some of their games. Yeah,
that's a very strong point there. They've got to find a new form of identity in this moment. And as we come to the end of the news hour today, we had a story that we were going to talk about that actually kind of like we segue from, but we'll just tease it for now, which is this backwards compatibility has been hinted at through a Sony patent. So this is something we'll talk about tomorrow, but this is huge for the PlayStation 5 because it was the one aspect of the Xbox Series X that everybody was like, yeah, I'll still be able to play my old Xbox games, and with the PlayStation 5, you won't. And then Sony was like,
no, here you go.
Out.
Checkmate.
Yeah.
So we'll be getting into that tomorrow in more detail. And I guess continue to talk about how the PlayStation just seems like the better console.
Yeah, it is growing. It's like turning into the Hulk, and the Hulk is raging and just continuing to grow. And it's going to become this mega Hulk before we know it.
But that does bring us to the end of our news hour for today. And thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for the support, for the hosts, for the follows, for joining us. But fret not, because we'll be live tomorrow at 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. Pacific.
And if you are watching us right now, don't forget our previous episodes are up on YouTube, so you can go in and check those out. Don't forget to please like and subscribe to help us to continue to grow. And if you're watching this on YouTube, remember, like Kaisa was just saying, we are live Monday through Friday from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m.
We have a lit chat.
Yeah, and we have amazing people in the chat that come in and just add so much to the conversation. None of this would be possible without you. We all appreciate you so very much. But for Daily Gaming News, I am Marrone.
I am Kaisa. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
See you next time, everybody.